The Wire is AI generated. Just like humans, AI sometimes gets it wrong. Trust but verify the information contained in this podcast.
Welcome to the Wire Broker Edition, the week in real estate, presented in digestible bites. Hold on while our AI hosts take us on another ride through this week's top real estate headlines.
Welcome back to The Wire, your weekly deep dive into what's really shaping things up in real estate. And this week, we're not just talking about like the market itself, we're talking about the players.
Yeah.
Specifically, how the big brokerages are adapting to all the changes we've been seeing.
It's pretty wild out there.
It is, and we want to unpack what that means for you.
Right. Because it seems like every brokerage is trying to answer the same question these days, What does it even mean to be a successful brokerage in 2025?
Exactly. So we've got articles here from Real Estate News, RIS Media, NAR, all painting like a super dynamic picture, right? Acquisitions, rebranding. We've even got some like legal battles brewing and some like philosophical clashes about where this whole industry is headed.
Yeah. It's like the whole industry is having this existential crisis, wouldn't you say?
Totally. And I think like nowhere is that more evident than with Compass.
Oh, absolutely.
They're making headlines again.
Yeah.
With their acquisition of Washington Fine Property.
Yeah.
Right. Big name in the DC luxury market. We're talking like 150 agents. Average home sale price of $1.6 million. That's a statement.
It's definitely a power move. Tells you a lot about their strategy, right? Like, They're not just going for growth's sake. They want a specific slice of the market.
Right.
That high-end luxury segment. And it's not just acquisitions either.
Right.
They're doubling down on their private exclusives strategy.
Okay, so for our listeners who maybe aren't totally familiar with this, can you break that down a bit? What does that mean, private exclusives?
Sure. So traditionally, right, when a property is listed for sale, it goes on the MLS, the multiple listing service, gets it in front of as many buyers as possible. What Compass is doing is they're pre-marketing some listings through their own network. Their agents, their clients, basically bypassing the MLS.
So it's kind of like creating this like VIP club.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you want access to these hot properties, you got to be in the know. And they're actually putting out research now saying this approach gets sellers higher prices.
Interesting. But doesn't that go against like what Zillow and Bright MLS have been saying?
It does. They've both done studies that suggest skipping that wider MLS exposure could actually mean sellers are leaving money on the table.
Huh. So who's right?
Well, that's the debate, isn't it? And Compass is going even further. They're publicly criticizing NAR, saying their clear cooperation policy, the one that says listings have to be shared at the MLS, well, Compass says it's designed to hold them back.
Really?
Yeah. Their CEO, Robert Refkin, is basically saying NAR cares more about protecting agent dues than they do about what's best for consumers.
Wow. Strong words.
Yeah. He's arguing that Compass's private networks actually bring in better buyers, more qualified, and ultimately that benefits the seller.
Okay, so that's a pretty bold stance. And it definitely adds like another layer to this whole discussion about the MLS in today's market.
Right. Is it still relevant? Is it outdated? It's a good question.
Yeah. It's like you've got two totally different philosophies here.
Yeah.
You got Compass saying, hey, let sellers choose, maybe get a faster, more profitable sale. And then you've got the traditional argument, the one for transparency and making sure all buyers have a fair shot.
Right.
So where does NAR stand on all this? I mean, are they just going to let Compass walk all over them?
Well, their official stance is that the clear cooperation policy is about fairness, right? Equal access for all buyers. But I guarantee you, they're watching this very closely. Compass is shaking things up, and NAR knows it.
Yeah. It almost feels like Compass is saying, we're big enough, we're powerful enough, we make our own rules.
Right.
It'll be fascinating to see if they can pull it off.
Absolutely. But, while Compass is making all this noise, right, at Realty, they're taking a totally different approach.
Right.
They're all about efficiency and agent productivity, leveraging technology, building this virtual global network.
Yeah, their revenue's up, expanding internationally, and, their CEO, he seems to be totally on board with the whole clear cooperation thing.
Yeah.
And the traditional MLS.
It's almost like they're saying, hey, we can work within the system, but still find ways to innovate.
It's like two totally different paths to success.
Right. You've got Compass, like betting big on disruption, and XP saying, no, optimization is the way to go.
Fascinating. But it's not just the big guys, though, right?
Right.
We've got this whole other world of independent brokerages, and they're finding their own ways to adapt.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting, I think. This NAR article highlights how some of these firms are diversifying their revenue streams, launching new services, targeting niche markets, really doubling down on that community connection to kind of weather this storm.
So it's not just about scale anymore. It's about
agility, resourcefulness, finding your unique angle.
Love that. And there's some pretty creative stuff happening out there.
Oh, absolutely.
Like one broker actually closed a profitable office and reinvested that money to land a big developer client.
Talk about bold moves.
Right. It makes you wonder if we're going to see like a power shift. You know, will these smaller, more nimble firms start to chip away at the market share of those giants?
It's possible, especially if this market continues to favor hyper-local expertise.
Right. And then there's the brand factor. RAS Media has this piece on how brands like Century 21 and ERA are attracting these new affiliates, especially ones catering to specific niches.
Right. Like Century 21 Middleton down in San Antonio, they're all about military relocation, serving veterans.
It's smart, right?
Yeah.
In this market, that brand recognition, those resources, that support system, it's got to be a huge advantage.
Absolutely. And then you've got newer players like Next Home shaking things up with their co-CEO model.
Right.
Super focused on growth.
Yeah. They want to double in size in the next 4 years.
Ambitious.
To say the least.
It'll be interesting to see if they can keep up that pace, if the market stays slow. But you got to admire the hustle.
You do. And even the established brands like RE/MAX.
Yeah.
They're evolving too. They just rolled out this new digital-first logo.
It's a smart move. They're acknowledging that online presence is everything now.
It's not optional anymore.
Right. It's how you attract agents and clients.
So they're kind of like redefining themselves. You know?
Yay.
Not just a legacy brand, but a modern one. Tech-savvy.
And that resonates with everybody, right? The veterans and the newbies. It's interesting because for so long, it was all about getting bigger, bigger, bigger.
Yeah.
More agents, more market share.
More offices.
But now it feels like there's this shift happening, a move towards something more agent-centric.
Okay, I like that. So what does that look like in practice?
Well, Mike Puma, the CMO over at Century 21 Beggins Enterprises, he says brokers need a whole new mindset. Less manager and more business partner.
Okay.
Someone who's invested in their agent's success.
Interesting. So it's not just about handing them a toolkit and saying, go get them.
No. It's about fostering a culture of support and collaboration. Puma talks about understanding each agent's why, their individual motivations and goals.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Because in a tough market, that kind of support can make all the difference.
Right. It can be the thing that keeps them going.
Yeah. It's about creating that sense of community, a shared purpose.
Exactly. And then you've got Gary Keller from Keller Williams predicting this downturn is going to last a while.
Oh, great.
He's saying agents need to be the problem solvers, the trusted advisors, really hammering home that long-term value of homeownership.
Solid advice. Because when things slow down, you got to prove your worth, right?
Exactly. You got to be that expert that clients can lean on.
So to recap, we've got brokerages expanding, consolidating, going digital, trying new things.
Diversifying revenue.
Yeah.
Putting more focus on their agents.
It's a lot to process.
It is. And all this back and forth about the MLS, private networks, the future of the brokerage agent relationship, it all comes down to one big question. What is the future of this industry?
It's like we're at this tipping point. Old rules are out and everything's up for grabs.
And that brings us to the three key themes that have really emerged from these articles. The first one being brokerage evolution.
Which, I mean, it makes sense, right? The market's changing, so brokerages have to adapt.
Exactly. But it's how they adapt that matters.
Right.
Whether it's through expansion, like Compass, technology, like XP,
right,
or finding a niche like Century 21 Middleton.
It's about defining your place in this new landscape.
Exactly. You're not just a brokerage. You're the brokerage for a certain type of client, a certain kind of agent.
And that specialization ties into the second theme, doesn't it? Revenue diversification.
It does.
Yep.
Because as those traditional commissions get squeezed, brokerages have to get creative.
Like you were saying.
Yeah. Real estate expos, preferred vendor programs, even starting side businesses.
It's like they're becoming these mini empires.
Right. Building this whole ecosystem around those core services.
Okay, so we've got evolution,
Mm-hmm.
we've got diversification.
Mm-hmm.
What's the third big theme here?
Agent centricity. This one's huge. The relationship between brokerages and agents. It's changing.
How so?
It's less about, control from the top down and more about empowering agents,
Okay.
supporting them, collaborating with them, like what Mike Puma was talking about.
Right, that whole business partner thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's not alone. Lots of brokers are advocating for this more holistic approach where they act as mentors, helping agents reach their goals.
So it's about recognizing that, agents are the backbone of the business.
They are.
And in a market like this, keeping them happy, keeping them motivated,
Mm-hmm.
that's critical.
It is. It's about building that loyalty, that sense of community.
Yeah. Okay, so 3 big themes: evolution, diversification, and agent centricity. But there was one thing that really struck me as we were reading these articles, something I wasn't expecting.
It's the Compass and NAR thing, right?
Yeah. That whole battle, it's like, it sums up everything that's going on in the industry right now.
It does.
You got Compass, this massive company,
Mm-hmm.
super ambitious, and they're openly challenging NAR, like the institution.
Yeah, it's a David and Goliath situation almost.
And it all comes down to how do you handle listings?
Right. Compass is saying their private exclusives, which a lot of times bypass the MLS completely, are better for everyone, better for their clients because they get higher prices, faster deals.
But that goes against NAR's clear cooperation policy, right? That's the whole point of that rule.
It does, and that's why they're butting heads. The CEO of Compass, Robert Refkin, he's saying NAR cares more about their own bottom line, about those agent dues, than they do about what's best for the consumer.
I mean, that's a serious accusation.
It is, and it shows you this tension that's building in the industry.
Yeah.
You've got the traditionalists who love the MLS, that transparency, that equal access to information.
Right.
And then you've got Compass who's saying, no, technology is changing the game. We can do this better, more efficiently.
And they're putting their money where their mouth is. They even have their own research saying homes sold through these private networks do better.
Right. Higher prices, quicker offers.
But how reliable is that, though? It's their data.
Right. There's definitely some bias there. And Zillow and Bright MLS, they've looked at millions of transactions, and they say skipping the MLS could hurt sellers.
So who do you believe?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? But it's a question that gets to the core of what real estate is going to look like going forward.
Right. So if Compass pulls this off,
Yeah.
are other companies going to follow suit? Is the MLS on its way out?
I mean, it's definitely a possibility. This whole thing is a pretty big deal. It's not just about Compass versus NAR. It's about the whole industry.
Okay, so we've got these 3 key themes: evolution, diversification, agent centricity. We've got this shocking battle playing out between Compass and NAR. What's the takeaway for our listeners?
If I had to boil it all down to one thing, be adaptable.
Okay.
That's not an option anymore. It's like a requirement.
So you can't just keep doing things the old way.
Not if you want to survive.
Ah.
Big or small, you got to evolve. Find ways to bring in new revenue. Support your agents like never before.
Complacency kills.
That's it. This market rewards the people who are willing to shake things up, to try new things.
So, what can our listeners do? Give us something actionable.
First thing, stay informed. Know what's going on. Read the articles. Go to the conferences. Have these conversations.
Education is key.
It is. The more you know, the better decisions you'll make. Second, experiment. Don't be afraid to try stuff. New marketing, new technology, maybe even a new commission structure.
Don't get stuck in your ways.
Right. And finally, invest in your agents. Give them the tools, the training, the support they need to win in this market.
Because they're the ones on the front lines.
Exactly. Make them feel valued, make them feel empowered. Their success is your success.
Okay, that's great advice. But I got to say, this whole thing with Compass and NAR, this fight over private listings,
Yeah.
it feels like we're just seeing the beginning,
Oh, absolutely. Real estate is about to change in some big ways.
Yeah.
AI, virtual reality, blockchain, all this stuff's coming down the pipeline.
Bulk up, everyone.
Yeah. It's going to be a wild ride. Exciting and maybe a little scary all at the same time.
But hey, change is good, right? It creates opportunities.
It does. The people who embrace it will be the ones who come out ahead. So yeah, be adaptable, be bold, and be ready for anything.
Well said. That's all the time we have for this week's Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us on The Wire. We'll be back next week with another look at what's shaping the future of real estate.
Until then, stay informed, stay connected, and stay ahead of the curve.
If you're interested in your own personalized edition of The Wire, please visit us at thewire.fm/custom. We offer market-specific podcasts with all the latest real estate news and market analysis delivered to you weekly or monthly. Own your market with a personalized edition of The Wire, the week in real estate. Thank you for listening.